Welcome to Resiliency The Podcast. Today's guest is a mover and a shaker in the global education sector. She's a computer scientist turned psychologist, entrepreneur, and also the visionary founder of Magrid Learning Solution, which is an award-winning language-free learning platform that is currently transforming early childhood education across the world. Now, what started as hand-drawn lessons for her own younger brother grew into a lifelong passion for helping children to overcome barriers to learning. And I'll personally say for all of our listeners, I don't think this has ever been more important. There's so much talk about challenges and obstacles that our children are facing. And it's really a beautiful thing that today's guest brought and was really inspired by this. And she did some groundbreaking PhD research in psychology and early education, which brought her to finding Magrid. Now, today, Magrid Learning Solution has been implemented across Europe, Latin America, and beyond, and it gives children, including those who are multilingual, neurodiverse, or have special education needs, an inclusive way to build foundational cognitive and math skills without relying on language. By removing these linguistic barriers, today's guest ensures that every child, regardless of their background, has an opportunity to learn and to thrive. So today's story is not just about innovation in education. It is about resilience in a huge way. It's about inclusion, and it's about believing that every child deserves the joy of learning. With that, please give a big Resiliency the Podcast welcome to the brilliant, the trailblazer, Dr. Tahereh Pazouki. Welcome, Dr. Pazouki.
Thank you so much, Jen. I feel like, wow. Thanks for having me. It was a very nice welcome. I really appreciate your time and the podcast, and very glad to be here with you and with Kelly.
Tahereh, we're thrilled that you're here and thrilled with the work that you've been doing. You know, it's near and dear to my heart, having lived and worked in so many different countries around the world and working with, making sure that society, but children more importantly, are never left behind in what we do and they can achieve their best potential. So Magrid is pretty special in this world for all of us. I'd really like to know, we're curious, we love to start our podcast with, what does resiliency mean to you?
Thank you so much. For me, resiliency means the ability to stay grounded, to adapt and to move forward even when the circumstances change completely. And what I've learned is that resiliency is deeply connected to purpose. So when you're believing in the purpose, it's much easier to stay resilient. And that is that, let's say, quiet determination that keeps you learning, evolving, and creating impact, or that move inside you, that give you energy every morning, creating impact despite all the challenges.
I feel there's a lot of beauty in what you just said. One thing that really stuck out to me is that you tied it to purpose. I feel like that's a little new for us. I feel like we have guests on, and we are on a consistent basis, and we always ask them, what does resiliency mean? And we hear a lot about grounding and about bouncing back, bouncing forward, working through things. But I really like that you tied resilience to purpose, because obviously the work you're doing is very purpose-driven. I wonder if you could share with our readers a little bit about where your passion and your purpose came from. What was the personal experiences or moments that led you to say, hey, I'm going to create a global platform that's going to help children in countries all over the world to be able to learn better? What drove you personally to that?
I have a younger brother that he had some physical, let's say, health-related issues. And when I was young, so I'm 6 years older than him, and when he just started to going to school when he was 6 years old, I was 12. And because of his physical problem, he was very often out of school and in the hospital. And so he would miss the classroom, the sessions. Because of that, he was not learning, not catching up with his peers and so on. So he started reading very late. And as an older sister, I was feeling responsible to help him with his goals. So I was trying to. I was also not a teacher or something, but just like by making drawings, trying to help him understanding the concepts and ideas. And when I saw that he started to learn and he started to read, catching up with his friends and smile, this was the greatest joy for me, that I was always in my life trying to have that joy back. And the only way I could have that joy back was to repeat that experience. So later on, my brother, he went to university. He also studied computer science. He's a software engineer. He's part of our tech team. And I was like, if it happens with him, it can happen with all the other kids. And we are all trying to have that joy for ourselves again and again every day.
What a beautiful thing that there's an end to the story. You know what I mean? Like you were able to see this need in your younger brother, and then he has a successful career as a computer scientist. What a joy that had to have given you. At what point in that journey did you then turn to creating Magrid? I guess I want to know from a trajectory, how long did you work on it personally before you said, hey, this is a business idea. Like, this is something I need to take to others?
So my background is in computer science and also master in machine learning and also information retrieval and information management. And then I always wanted to work in the area of learning and education and psychology. So I did a PhD in psychology, focusing on early childhood education. And during the course of my PhD, we were a research team that we were working on the challenges in early childhood education and coming up with different hypothetical solutions, testing different of these ideas and to see what actually works. And among the different ideas we had, what was also the language-free inclusive training program. So we were between 2014 to 2020 doing the research project. And as soon as it was a research project, we had to publish the scientific journals, the findings of our studies. And once we first published the results, we started getting a lot of requests from almost all around the world, from South Africa to Latin America, Turkey, India, that they were telling us we are facing same challenges and how can we get access to this program. And this was the moment for me that this can be more than a research project, and I can turn this to a product that people can actually benefit from that. So after I finished my PhD, then as I had also no background in business development and so on, so I went to London Business School and to do a like entrepreneurship program. And then after that, I founded the company and started to continue working on Magrid to further implement it and start to developing it also internationally.
It's a lovely story. It's such a great journey. And as you say, you've connected resilience to purpose, but you've also connected resilience to passion. It's like your purpose and your passion, and you're able to do those things every day. There are people around the world that just don't ever have that opportunity or can't see it in front of them. And you get to get up in the morning and say, I'm doing these things that really do give me joy. And
That's true.
if we all could do things that make us feel joy, which is kind of where I'm at in my life these days. If it doesn't give me joy, I'm not doing it. It's so true, Jen. You have no idea.
It is so wonderful. It's the best philosophy.
It is. But here's Tahereh, a living embodiment of that, with drive, with determination, staying on the journey, staying on track, and look at where you are now. Tahereh, you've talked to us about purpose and passion. And what I'm really interested in before I go into asking you about your work around the world is, how do you balance the idea of you are an entrepreneur, you're running a business, you're a CEO of a company. You have to run that and focus on that part. But yet you still have this passion on the continual development of what Magrid is and how that changes. So how do you balance those things?
That's where the whole team and the culture comes in. So I founded the company as a solo founder, and it was without like business experience, without money, and it was very difficult to like uh, bring a team together and to get them to work like without any financial resources and so on. So the first people who joined Magrid, they had similar experiences. So they had also personal connection with the whole education or education for children with special needs. Then after not only my passion, but their passion and also their purpose as well. And this even unintentionally continue to repeat. So the first, let's say 4, 5, 6 people we had, they all had personal connection. And they all had either kids with special needs, they maybe themselves when they were younger, they had some sort of special education needs. And even our very first investor, who is Prince Louis of Luxembourg, he's dyslexic and he has 2 kids with dyslexia. So this made it easier for us because this was not only my passion, but everyone's passion. And this was like the work for them was not the work just to get paid, but to really do something different and to really create impact because they wanted to do something different than just working to get paid. Till today, now we are like a team of 22 people. And for all of us, like as soon as we receive an email, pictures from like our client people that they share stories with us, this is like what keeps all of us motivated and passionate about what we are doing. And I get even messages from our team members that they say, "Oh, we are so happy that we are working here." I was like working in other company, like very famous, very big. I was getting paid maybe twice as what I'm getting here, but I feel like I'm doing something important and I'm doing something big, and being part of Magrid team, it's like what I really love in my family, and I'm happier definitely since I'm working here. And that's really, really what I'm happy to hear. Then also looking for new team members. If it's like 2 people, they are even one of them is having higher skills, but the other is more motivated and passionate about what we are doing, we definitely go for the second one to keep this spirit and to keep this culture. So it's no more my personal passion and purpose, but it's for the entire team. And this makes the whole work much easier.
You've built a collective, which is really, really nice. We talk about community. Resilience manifests itself through community, and you've been able to do that at your company. It's a collective and a community coalesced around this common purpose, which is fabulous. And so you've been able to grow pretty quickly. I'd like to move now into your international work. And so you're working right now across 14 countries and often in underserved communities, those most left
That's
behind, right? So what does
Absolutely.
resilience look like when scaling across cultures and different education systems? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, every country has its own realities, like culturally, infrastructural challenges, and if even different ways of seeing education. So it's really, you cannot apply one model everywhere. So we really need to listen, to adapt, and somehow even co-create solutions with our local partners. So for me, resilience in this context is about continuing to move forward, even when the progress looks different in each place. And it's really trying to stay patient and to learn from each context and keep believing more and more in the long-term vision. That every child, regardless of their abilities, their languages, their background, they definitely deserve equal learning opportunities, and that quality education should not be a luxury, but it's a human right. And once this is like, no matter where you go, which community, this is really myself and the entire team be truly believing, and it's not that hard to let's say to get and to complete and to accomplish.
Tahereh, dear Dr. Pazouki, I love what you just said. I think what I pull out of it is I heard that you said we have to listen, adapt, and co-create. And you're talking about how to build. And this is so interesting to me because it ties to things we talk about a lot on Resiliency, the podcast. And in a personal level and an organizational level, Dr. Kelly talks a lot about there's a trinity of actions that has to happen. You have to continually be working on surviving. Dr. Kelly, tell me the three again. I can never remember.
Survive, optimize, thrive.
Survive, optimize, thrive. And in a lot of ways, that's what you're doing, Tahereh, when you are listening, adapting, and co-creating, because it's in that environment you described where people are personally connected. I heard you say, and I'd like to point this out for all of our American listeners, because this one hit my ear. I heard you say people said, yeah, I'm paid a heck of a lot less here at this company, but I'm a heck of a lot happier because I'm doing this stuff that connects to my passion. So I want to ask, because we're going to get into the platform next, but I think I want to just stay on this topic of like co-creation, adapting, listening. You mentioned working across 14 countries, that everyone has their own way. Is there maybe a little short story you could tell us? Feel free to protect all innocence. Do not use names, but tell us a story where somebody said, hey, you got to do this, and you guys had to jump to it and had to adapt. Can you tell us a little bit of what it's like in the Magrid learning world?
For sure, so many stories happening every day. Those that are closer to my heart when we are working with really unserved communities, and really in like more communities that they are living in remote areas. For instance, we are working with some foundations in Nepal and in Peru that both they are serving children that don't even go to school, so they bring them like a couple of days a week to some houses that they take care of them. They like give them a meal. Maybe that's the only meal they get during the day, and they don't have, let's say, a teacher, but someone just who's looking after children. And this time that they have with Magrid is the only, let's say, kind of education that they get. They were initially bringing them into this house to be safe, to get a meal. But now with Magrid, they are also like, this is their only source of education they have. And it's very difficult because they don't have an internet connection. So it's like all of life. They even have electricity issues. So they bring devices to electricity room once a week to like charge devices. And for many of these kids, it's the first time in their life that they see any smart device. Even their parents, they don't have smartphone or something. And sometimes even like those caregivers, they cannot communicate verbally with these kids. For instance, in Laos, they speak in Monk, and teachers, they speak in Lao, like the official language. They cannot even communicate. And here Magrid comes to language free tool. And once they are working with Magrid, first of all, they understand that, okay, if they were not completing some activities or something, this is not due to the fact that the child is, let's say, cognitively behind, but it's the matter of communication, and it's about understanding of the question and the concepts. I heard that they are telling their parents that we want to come more to these centers because then we get to work with Magrid, and so they are coming more often to these centers, that they are safer and they get the food. And once I was watching one of these videos and I saw that they are having low energy and they are like tired, and it was like, oh, is it like they don't like Magrid or what's the thing? And they were like, no, it's just that they are hungry or they didn't get enough sleep, and that they still like to come to the center because that is like for them, oh, I can also learn and I want to go to school and I don't want to like be in the street and so on. And these are the moments and motivations for all of us. And when looking into the data from their side, we see that after a few weeks of working with Magrid, their performance and the learning outcomes is actually not much of a difference with high-level societies and children, for instance, living in Luxembourg to high-end schools. So it's really about access to proper education and not about the intellectual differences. Is like everything.
It is like everything. I'm so glad you told us that, because honestly, the vision in my head, and again, I'm proud to be and saddled with having an American perspective. And so my vision is these kids, in their houses with their parents, with all their smartphones, and they get on their little device. But no, this is something where these kids have no access. And I want to just make a quick point before we again get into this, because you said earlier, quality education is a human right. And it strikes me that in history, when human rights are challenged, so for example, in American slavery and apartheid, the first thing that happens is that education is restricted. You cannot learn to read. You are not allowed to learn more. And I think it strikes me that you are solving a global purpose by bringing that to people. And then the other thing that strikes me in your personal journey, Tahereh, is you talked about earlier on, you had a degree in computer science, you had a degree in psychology, but you said, I wanted to start a business and I didn't really know how. So I just, went to Columbia Business School. And so I think there is, you walk your talk. You know what I mean? You believe in education and you are bringing it to people. I think I would like to ask Dr. Kelly a little bit, if you wouldn't mind commenting a little bit on this concept of education as a human right, how you've seen from your global perspective. Please bring us into that a little bit.
It's a great question, and I'm glad that we're sort of diving a bit deeper in this discussion, because we're fortunate in America, in Canada, in Luxembourg. We take a particular view on education, and we have expectations that it's like this everywhere, and it isn't. And you've heard me rant, Jen, at times about, my experience in Africa and comparing it to kids in the US or in Canada having role models as, influencers. When I have kids who just want to go to school, they want to have a school to go to. They want to get there alive. They want to have a teacher that does more than walk and breathe. They want to get home alive. They want to have parents, really basic things that we take for granted, we see in so many other places around the world. And so education is the one thing, in my tiny little view of the world, education is the one thing that levels us. Education is the thing that gives us opportunity. If you give someone education, he or she can fundamentally change his or her life and the life of their family more than anything else. And we take it for granted, but the concept of education as a human right is really, really pervasive in the developing world, because that's the only way they level themselves up to where we are as a developed world. Yeah. I'm glad you asked that. Thank you.
Well, you have such wisdom on it, and you've seen so much. I mean, and both of you, both of you have such a global perspective on this. And I think there's a tremendous amount of wisdom. And I think that this is what Resiliency, the podcast, is about. It's about widening our perspectives, because we all only understand resilience the way that we are living it. But I think when you widen that perspective, and I wonder if I can take the conversation back to you, Tahereh, and I want to ask, we're talking about access to education, like literally kids who, as you said, don't have a school, they come a couple days a week. And then I want to layer onto that this discussion of neurodivergence, of kids who suffer from autism, of kids who suffer from anything across a spectrum of things. And can you talk a little bit about how this language free, I mean, that's something that, I'm a verbal communicator in all things. How does this work? How does language free actually exist in a platform? And how does it help those kids not only who need the access, but who need specialized education in order to be able to understand and thrive.
Thank you so much. For me, this language free thing, it's given that I'm working on it for a long time. Several times I forget about the importance of it. And when I'm like talking about Magrid, I will forget the importance of that. But every time you're talking to clients and when we're asking them why they like Magrid and they talk about that, I'm like, really? The language free thing is something because I was thinking initially that it's helping the most children with migratory backgrounds because now we see more and more that the population of children with migratory background is growing everywhere. In Europe, it's like, for instance, in Luxembourg, more than 70% of children that they go to school, they never heard the language of instruction before. So the population is like the native speakers are 1/3 of population and the minorities. So I was thinking this is like mainly for them, but when we started working also with neurodivergent children, we saw that the need is bigger than that. So we have like children with hearing difficulties, with speech difficulty, language disorder, like language processing disorder, children with dyslexia, in autism spectrum, nonverbal kids. And all in all, they have only, let's say, one domain problem, which is language, and it turns to their general problem. So every other development is dependent on their language proficiency and language development, which is like can be completely independent. So here with language free training, the idea is not that we ignore the language development or we say that communication or collaboration, verbal collaboration is not important, but we just say the other development doesn't need to be dependent on their language development and they can separately grow and develop. So here, what it actually happens is like, let me first understand the concepts and then I put on that language. So we see that it works even better for native speakers or for kids that they don't even have any language related difficulties. Because if you, when you look at an exercise let's say, kindergarten exercise. So it's like color the shape that is different from the other shapes in a row. So this simple exercise that you just need to cross the shape that looks different is very verbally heavy. And if you just do 2 examples, the child would automatically continue doing it. But when you're making it dependent to a language, it makes it very difficult. So we try to detangle, let's say, cognitive development, numeracy, math, independent of language development. But what is very interesting for us to see is that when we are training cognitive skills, numeracy, and math, we are indirectly even training children's language proficiency because it's like you are training the muscles that afterward is going to be used for language development. So the language free training is indirectly helping language development and learning new languages. So that's why it's also even beneficial for like all kids. It doesn't matter if they are having any language related difficulties or not, but it makes it particularly interesting and beneficial for the other groups. So for like kids in an autism spectrum or the other population that I mentioned.
Fascinating.
I have so many thoughts. Dr. Kelly, please go, and then I'll talk because I have so many thoughts.
No, I'm just going to say it's absolutely fascinating because, we look at language and the development of language, and I'm thinking, back to speech pathology when we have speech hands-on. It's, you just shifted the whole dynamic, and my, and I say this completely uneducated, Tahereh, so forgive me. It's you take people and particularly kids who could be neurodiverse, and you rewire how they think. And then you've changed them for life and you've made things easier for them.
You're rewiring, which I think is exactly right. And that's what really hit me. And I'll take it to that place that hit me, which is on a spiritual level, okay, we talk about this a lot. And again, we say like spirituality can mean anything to anyone. It can mean, the universe, whatever. But on a level that is beyond what we can see and feel, what all humans are seeking is understanding. And once we have understanding, then emotions that come with not understanding can calm. Emotions like frustration, like anger. And so it's so beautiful to me. And when you talk about, we have this exercise and we just show it to them a couple times and they learn to mimic that, they are, again, the word co-creation comes up in my head, because when you put a professor at the top of a class and they lecture at you, there's only one way for you to learn that. But you are allowing these kids to co-create what it means and to develop an understanding that I can imagine. And again, I too am uneducated. I'm not an educator, but I can imagine that one of probably the biggest barriers, if you're working with a child, is that they're frustrated. They don't understand it, so they don't want to go forward. So you are building these connectors, as Dr. Kelly said, rewiring. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I would never have thought language free would do that. But then I want to bring it to something that just randomly hit my head. I like to have the American perspective. And I thought it was really interesting. So, the whole world is up in arms because Bad Bunny is going to perform at the Super Bowl. All right. And like everyone's all upset about it. And I think Bad Bunny is the bomb. Like, he is such a performer. And he got on to Saturday Night Live. This was like the first one out. And he does his monologue. And toward the end, he does a whole piece in Spanish. And he says, and if you didn't understand what I just said, you have 4 months to learn. And I think what a beautiful place to take, here we have America, which is growing to bilingualism and let's be honest, fighting at every level. But if we get down to it, all we need is understanding. So that's my pop culture reference for what you just said, Tahereh, which is you are building understanding and you're allowing me to understand Bad Bunny from the beginning. I just think it's fantastic. I take us crazy places.
I love it. Yeah, see, you didn't know this was going to happen when you agreed to be a guest on the podcast, Tahereh. We go all over the place, and it's super fun. It's super fun. I love it.
And we'll just have to approach Bad Bunny and see if he wants to be a spokesperson for Magrid Learning. We'll just have to check and just see. That seems like the next logical next step.
We're going to leave that one with Jen. That's on her to-do list.
Thank you.
Oh, man. So, Tahereh, how do you take care of yourself when you are advocating for equity and innovation at a global level and you're changing the world and you see the change in these kids? What about you? How do you?
Very, very good question. For several years, I was thinking that I should forget about myself, and it's all about Magrid, and it's all about the business or the purpose working. So I don't know, for maybe at least 5 years, I was not taking even a day off. And I read that I don't need a day off, and I can work every day and so on. But I learned that to sustain the impact, I need to first sustain myself first. And I learned that from investors, because I was thinking that my investors would be so proud if I'm not taking a day off. And they learned that I am working every day and that would make them happy. But I saw that no, they are like telling me you have to take care of yourself, and they really mean it, and they would get angry if I'm not, because they were like, oh, you can only sustain the business and the impact if you sustain yourself first. So working globally and in education, it can be very intense and emotionally, mentally. So I try to create like even small anchors, maybe calm in my daily routine, even if it's like just a quiet moment for myself, or walking in the nature, or like I try to keep my half an hour the first thing in the morning, like 6 to 6:30 in the morning, just for stretching, because after that I won't find any other time. So it's like eat your frog stuff very early in the morning, and then and more important than that, I learned that I don't need to do everything alone. So building a strong team and trusting people it has been essential, and that's helped a lot to take care of myself. And they are also taking care of me, which is like very beautiful. The most, let's say, not frustrating, but I would say exhausting part of the work is taking so many decisions a day. So like you are constantly taking decisions and you have to be fast and quick to like answer. And I try to, and it was like a case actually yesterday that one of our team members, he said, yeah, there is this conference in Mauritania, and I think we should go there, and there is like big opportunity, and I got to meet with this person and that person. But from my perspective, this was not like justifying 7,000-8,000 euros to invest. And he told me, "Oh, please tell me by tomorrow morning because that's when the subscription ends. So if you want to go, it has to be like before tomorrow." And I was really thinking, I didn't have enough data to make a decision on that. And I was like, okay, I don't know. And then at the end, I was like, you know what? I told him I wouldn't have done it, but and he just started working in Magrid 3 months ago, and I told him that I put it totally on you. This is like the resource that we have is for the whole team. So imagine you have 7,000-8,000 euros, and if you think it's worth doing that, or if you want with that money doing something else, you make the decision, and whatever is your decision, I respect and I support. And then in the morning, he told me, I don't think it's a good idea, and I think I can do better with that money. So it was like, whew, if I would have just told him, no, I don't think it's like good enough, he wouldn't be happy. He made the decision himself, and he also sent a very long message to me thanking me for that this I felt trusted, although I just started my work, but you told me that you would support whatever decision. And that's why I think like trusting in your team members that they would also try to better protect, they would see this as their own team, not just as a workplace. That I think is very essential, especially like nowadays is no more like the old style of leadership or having a company that you are just ruling stuff, but it's really about working together, trusting together. And what I see is that they really try hard, and they are the ones, they are more worried very often than me, like, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that. And I need to very often calm them down, like, we will take care of that. Don't worry, it's okay. We will do that next. And they are very often more excited than me or thinking and really worrying about the business. So yeah, I think that helped me also to take care of myself when I see that I take care of them, they take care of me.
It's like a little mini masterclass in leadership. I mean, truly, because I love how you described when you first start, you're like, everybody's watching, the investors are watching. I better work until my fingers fall off. And I think that when you talked about learning yourself to rest, it made me think of an earlier episode that we did, Dr. Kelly of Resiliency the Podcast with Alexis Jeffries.
Oh, yes.
Who talked about rest as resilience, the need to rest, the need. And I love that you say you take your time in the mornings to do your stretching. I think that's what you have to do. And then, man, learning to trust a team. We could do a whole episode on that, because
we'll have her back. We'll have her back on that
we'll
one.
have you back for that. Exactly. But look, so we're about to get into the very end of this, and Tahereh, you've brought us so many amazing insights, and really just the work you're doing is so world changing, and both across countries and inside the young minds of people who are learning. I have one last question before Dr. Kelly takes us into the fun part of rapid fire questions, but it's one that's close to my heart because in addition to being running a company that does public relations, I'm also an artist, and I write and I do music. And so this next question, it relates to me as an artist. It relates to you as a builder of Magrid Learning. It relates to anybody who's an innovator and a thought starter out there who sees something in their head but can't quite get it out of their mouth. And so the question is, what advice do you have for someone who wants to do something and make social impact, but the world doesn't understand it yet? What's your advice for those people?
My advice would be to stay rooted in the purpose. But more important than that, to let the evidence speak and to let the evidence guide you. So when I started, I was also hearing many no's, and I still do, and many people that they were telling me, oh, this doesn't work, or you cannot do it, or the whole thing, it doesn't work, and so on. And I am a former researcher, and I believe in research and results, and I continued, even like if something doesn't work for me, is a finding, is like, this is a finding and you have to celebrate finding. It's even if the finding is like, okay, this doesn't work, but it's a still a finding and it's worth even maybe publishing that, because you tried something, you tested the hypothesis, and you know now the results. So that's, I guess you can look at everything from that research perspective. But this is a research question. I'm going to test it and I'm going to see it finding whatever it is, and really trusting the result and keep showing the result, and then letting the word and the results speak louder than like the explanations are trying to convince people. But once you have the evidence, then you don't need to try to convince people once you have that. And then really surrounding yourself with people that they see what you say and what you believe in, the purpose. And honestly, I think if you believe in what you are doing, it means that you continue doing what you're doing. If you say, oh, I believe in it so much, but in 6 months' time, you are doing something else because now you believe in something else so much. And then after that is something else. But so then how could other people trust in that? So if you believe in it so much that you are working on that for 3-4 years full time, and not just as a side job, as like your days and nights, and as your first love. My father used to tell me that your love is what you go shower with, what you sleep with. This is like in your mind. So when you love something, it's like you're thinking about it when you're showering, when you're sleeping, when you're cooking, and then you know that this is your love. And if you have that for several years, the other people, they start to trust, and they come and they feel like, oh, they are missing something, that they are like, they are missing something out. So I don't think you need to convince people if you believe in yourself. And this means you continue doing it, because that shows you believe. You don't need to explain why you believe in it. Just doing that for so many hours, for so many days, and for so many years. And that will speak itself, and it's tell people that, okay, they are missing something out. And then they are coming and joining us. So be patient, and that's going to definitely pay back.
I know. So, Jen, the patience.
Wait,
Number
what?
one.
I think that's first on my list to develop.
I know.
But I'm not there
It's
yet.
an acquired
I'm not
skill.
there yet.
We're not born with it. It's an acquired skill. I haven't acquired it yet either, as you both know. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, Jen, publish the book, publish the poetry, and keep on singing. That's what Tahereh told you to
It's
do.
coming. Well, I can tell you that the books are publishing on November 11th.
Woo-hoo!
You guys are the
Oh,
first to be
wow.
told. November
Congratulations.
11th. Thank you so much. But I would also like to bring it back to our wonderful guests, because what you just said is, I always like to say there's some T-shirt quotes that happen here at Resiliency the Podcast. And I think you just gave us one, which is, if you believe in it, others will too. That's what I heard. And I think that's what it's about. It's about that undying faith and passion in what we are doing, whether it is artistry, whether it is building learning for kids across the country or across the world, whether it is infusing some sanity into global politics and to building countries, which is what Dr. Kelly does. I think in general, what you've given to us today, and it's a little field of dreams. You know, if you build it, they will come. They will come. And I think you are living proof of that, Dr. Pazouki. And I'm so grateful that you have been able to tell this story today, because I think there's a lot we can learn. There's a really rich layer of learning that can come from you, not only in what Magrid is doing and in knowing that there are kids out there that need this type of solution, but then in also examining ourselves and looking at where are those places we might be too quick to turn our light. Oh, I started to develop that, but it didn't go as I wanted. So how can we stay focused on what we believe in? I think it's all beautiful. Over to you, Dr. Kelly.
All right.
Take us home.
Okay, so rapid fire questions. Are you ready, Tahereh?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so what's your favorite movie or TV show that makes you feel resilient?
When I was younger, I had my favorite animation was Mulan. I don't know if you've seen that. That was I used to watch it over and over and over again, and still is like make me feel like give me this courage to somehow redefine roles and to prove the strengths. And still, it's old one, but I really like it.
It's a good one. It's an old one, but it's a really good one. And she's a her. She's a female. That's the great part too. I know. Let's just say that. Let's just say it. What about
she's her?
She's her. What about your favorite song? Do you have a song that you turn on and you just like it's your happy place?
Yes, that's the Try from Pink. That really gives me this strange. I feel like when I listen to that, it gives me the power.
Good.
Love it.
What's the last thing that made you really, really laugh out loud?
Generally speaking, watching the videos of kids or cats. This is like for me the favorite videos. Like my Instagram videos is like kids or cats. And I can watch that forever, even if it's like, I don't know, just like it's negotiating with their parent, like trying to really intellectually doing something. And that is like for me very funny, but at the same time it's like seeing that they are trying intellectually to get something what they want. It's just hilarious.
And what is a question that you would like to leave for a future guest?
When no one is watching or asking, but you're trying to prove it to no one, what really what keeps you going when no one is watching?
Yes, when no one is watching, what keeps you going? Oh, that's
Love
good.
that question. That's an important question. Too many people don't ask that. That's a good one. Thank you. Now, I have a question for you from a prior guest, and it's a wide open question, a little short. So here is a past guest's question to you, dear Tahereh. What matters to you?
What matters to me? I know the thing. I'm looking for the word for it. Well, I forgot the English word. When you have to do the right thing, even if it's not in your favor. What is what is
What
you
is,
have
what
to
is an
say
English
the
word
right
for that?
thing.
Wait,
Yeah, but
you
it's
do the right
English
thing,
word.
but not the easy thing.
Yes, but it's also what you are saying the right thing or doing the right thing, even if it's not like in your favor, but it's the right thing and it's the correct thing. What is the English word for that?
I'm sad to maybe there's not one.
I can't think of it. I can't think of it. I get
There is
I'm like, I don't know if there is one.
I know what you mean, but I can't think of the word.
Yeah. Well, I know what you mean too, because what you're actually saying is kind of okay. Like the expression I've heard is like cut off your nose to spite your face, right? And that's kind of a negative way of saying it. But I think what you're trying, tell me if I'm interpreting this right, Tahereh. But what you're kind of saying is, hey, you have to do the right thing, even if it means you have to cut your nose off, even if it means it's something that might hurt you or something that might be difficult for you. If it's the right thing, you do it no matter what. Is that kind of right?
Yeah, yes. I think there is a word for
Ethical?
word, not necessarily ethical.
Integrity?
Integrity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good, Jen.
Yeah. There we go. That's it. Okay, so we do have an English word for integrity. Very
exactly.
Good. Go English language. But what a really good example of how a language-free tool could really help us, guys, because that was a very cool thing. On
Oh,
that
man.
note, guys, I want to say thank you, Dr. Tahereh Pazouki. What a brilliant, deep, interesting, just beautiful guest you've been. I want to ask if you would let our guests know, where can they find you? Where can they find Magrid Learning? Where can they follow the stories of what's happening with your journey?
Thank you so much, Jen, for your very kind words. The Magrid website is magrid.education. And also on all social media, they can find Magrid Learning Solution. And myself also on LinkedIn, maybe with Tahereh Pazouki, they can find, and would love to connect.
Beautiful. I love it. And I will spell for our guests that Magrid is Magrid. So if you look up Magrid.education, you will find Magrid, and you can look up our beautiful, wonderful guest, Dr. Tahereh Pazouki. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We love, love, love talking resiliency. We love looking at all the different colors and flavors that it brings into our lives. If resiliency is a topic that is of interest to you, please subscribe, listen, like wherever you're listening to us. Find us everywhere and continue to tune in. I am Jenn Quader. You can find me online, Jenn, JENN, on all of the socials. Also at my company, The Smart Agency. And then our magical, wonderful, illustrious, world-traveling co-host, Dr. Kelly Culver. You can find her at theculvergroup.ca. That is .ca because in her roots, she is Canadian, even if she's a world traveler. And then you can also find her at Dr. Kelly Culver online on Instagram and on LinkedIn. So guys, thank you again. Resiliency, the podcast, is a place where we come to help each other, to overcome challenges, to embrace change, and to really redefine resilience. It's been an honor to do that with you today, Tahereh. I wish all of our listeners a beautiful week ahead. Stay resilient, stay strong, and keep striving for understanding, and keep believing in it, because as long as you do, everybody else will. Thank you.